Hey guys, Josh Koerner here. Been a while. Sorry, thank you. Coming today to talk to you about the EOS R5 and managing expectations. The real reason I'm coming to you today is because I set up all my lights and I really just felt the need to use them because it could be fun. And so I hope that what I have to say is useful and meaningful, but I understand if it's not for you. I've been on a couple trips recently and I've really enjoyed shooting with my A7 III and the Tamron 2875. And it really kind of started a bigger conversation for me about expectation management. I've thought for a long time it'd be really fun to have, Fuji cameras, a wide variety of systems, right? Fuji, if Canon makes something interesting and worthwhile, then get back into Canon. That's where I started. Wouldn't mind going back to the fold. Nikon has come out with some really cool stuff. I have certain expectations for when I shoot. I want those to be met to get the experience that I want, right? That's pretty fundamental, pretty basic. And I think a lot of people forget that the way that they want to shoot, the workflows that they want to have behind the scenes after, be it several days, months, weeks, whatever, or, that afternoon, there's a workflow dependency on the way you shoot as well. And so you've probably gotten into a rhythm with, okay, I'm going to shoot this way, and then I'm going to process this way, and then I'm going to deliver this way. Where I've gotten to is that I don't know if a Fuji or even a Sony APS-C camera, let alone Micro Four Thirds or whatever, could get me what I'm looking for in terms. I think the EOS R5 is a really interesting camera because it's going to bring a lot of workflow similarities. It's going to be Canon color. It's going to be a reasonable megapixel count that we're used to working with nowadays. But the 8K video is looking like the selling point, right? That's Nikon's really pushing their video. That's the feature subset, the subset of features that seems to be really driving the marketplace is these video features. And that 8K, there's part of me that wants to be very cynical about it because Canon couldn't deliver 4K until what feels like true 4K till it feels like fairly recently. And it seems like a rush for them to go straight from hardly having implemented 4K to going straight to 8K. And so I'm gonna be totally honest with you and say, I don't think it's gonna be a great 8K. There's part of it too for me where it's like, what's the color depth gonna be on this? My Alpha 7 III does 8-bit and it's not great, better than nothing. Definitely would like a 10-bit 422 camera, but not at this point super interested in spending the money. And what we're seeing out of Nikon is, sure, you can have RAW, you can have 10-bit. What we're seeing out of Sony is a whole fat nothing burger. There's no A7S III. Been too long there, Sony. But we're seeing really good color capacity out of Fuji and definitely out of Panasonic, and Olympus is getting into the space as well. And so with that 8K, I think we have to wonder, what's this really going to look like? But I also want to be really positive about it because, there's two sides to every coin. In this case, there's the cynical and there's the positive. And I would really love for this 8K implementation to be really strong. What I think, though, is almost more compelling is the 12 frames per second in stills, because all of Sony's cameras, it feels like at any rate, are built around this 10 frames per second mechanical shutter. And so getting Sony to, on the A9 III or whatever, have a mechanical shutter that can do better than that would be very interesting. Getting Sony to put those mechanical shutters that can do better than that into A7 III, A7R 5, maybe even the A7S III. Sorry, A7 IV. Wow, I've been out of the loop. It could be very fun to see how Canon can, surprisingly enough, push the mechanical shutter features forward in the mirrorless space. One of the things that was really disappointing to see out of Canon, though, was the 24-105 f4 to 7.1. And I get there's a cost constraint for a lot of people, but I feel like as cool as a lot of those RF lenses are, they really got to make them accessible. That's a bit of a struggle point for me with their brand equity, and I really am concerned about where the price point on the R5 is going to be, because 8K, 12 frames per second, which most of Sony's cameras aren't doing, which most of the competition's cameras aren't doing. Having this feature set I feel like it could embolden Canon to make a camera that is really good on paper, but one that is never going to end up in end users' hands. And that's something that is troubling, because I feel like we are very soon going to be in the space where that same feature set is we're 2 or 3 years out from where that same feature set is going to be in everybody's hands, and it's going to be awesome. But you know, we gotta see a reasonable cost out of Canon to really push that forward for their brand, right? Not for the industry, that's the way the industry is going, but for their brand. So those are just some of the thoughts I've had on the EOS R5. Workflow should be really solid except for the 8K. And I really hope that that turns out really nicely, and I hope that we get a really good 4K implementation out of that camera. 10-bit, RAW perhaps, maybe ProRes, that would be nice, that'd be fun. Not necessary, of course, but the RAW I think they have to do to compete with Nikon, their traditional rival in the imaging space. And then I think the other side of it is, what's the price going to be? Is it going to be worth it? And I think if it's not worth it for most shooters, how far are they really pushing the bar forward? So anyway, thank you very much for your time and for your attention. Don't forget to like, subscribe, all that stuff. And I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Don't know when that's going to be, but hopefully there will be a next one.